Perhaps in our darkest hour, we were hit with a ray of light. The sweet, dulcet tones of Mauricio Pochettino saying in 2 languages that he has signed with the U.S. Soccer, U.S. Men's National Team, the United States, call it what you will. It is official that he is excited about what lies ahead, and he will be in charge starting October the 12th when the United States faces Panama, and from that day forward all the way through the 2026 World Cup. It is a major coup, and we're going to get into all the details here on the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. I have one there right now with the one and only, the great Alexi Lalas. We talk about Pochettino, we talk about the direction of U.S. soccer, and we talk about the sport in total. It's been an amazing year, and he's been right in the middle of it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, as we have a lot of videos coming out. I've got to tell you something. The last month, mind you, it comes during the U.S. struggles. This outlet for videos has been amazing. So many incredible interactions, having great conversations with all of you. You're digging what I'm doing, and I'm absolutely thrilled, and I just want to do more and more. As bleak as it's been, and this is not a bleak moment, this is a moment to be excited. There is so much to talk about. So thank you for all of that. Check out the podcast. Yes, like and subscribe us here as we push on. So we were all sitting around. We waited. It was erroneous report after erroneous report. Everyone took a stab at it, hoping that they would be right about Mauricio Pochettino. Julien Laurens, who was a guest of mine on my LAFC podcast. Check out Inside LAFC podcast while you're at it, as I'm there with the preeminent club in Major League Soccer. And he said it. I don't know if he knew more information, but he got it right. I mean, everyone tried. Fabrizio Romano, all the American reporters, everyone tried. David Ornstein, they all tried. They couldn't get it right. That is partially to blame for U.S. soccer. That is partially to blame for Chelsea and the severance package. We have some really interesting information, if you weren't aware, about how they were able to make the financial aspects connect. And that's also, I think, Mauricio Pochettino has to take some of the blame. Whatever it is, when it stagnates that long, maybe you could have helped get it over the line a little quicker. It doesn't matter. Water under the bridge. It would have been better if it happened sooner so that he could have been there during this cataclysmic September window where the U.S. lose to Canada and tie New Zealand. It wasn't a complete waste of time, but it could have been put to much better use. And what Pochettino's doing in October, he could have started in September. This is not a long time. The World Cup in 2026 is going to be here before you know it. He has this October window, and then we're in 2025, and then he has to pick a team. He has to pick a group of players. Remember, this took a Greg Berhalter, and it should take Greg Berhalter a long stretch. He had an older group of players, and he transitioned to the younger team. Now, is Mauricio Pochettino going to keep that younger team? I'm going to tell you why he isn't. I think it's going to be a mix and match. It could be without rhyme or reason as to who plays this position and that position. We'll get into that in a moment, but let's talk about how this got done. I'm getting most of this information from a fantastic article on The Athletic by Paul Tenorio and Adam Crafton, where they go through all the details. Some really good writing out there. Henry Bushnell has a great article there at Yahoo. I'm going to have him as a guest on my podcast, so stay tuned for that very soon. Some really good writing about how this could happen. And I want to say this. And, U.S. soccer had more lows than highs. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot of narratives out there that are incorrect. A lot of narratives. The narrative of the MLS quota on the U.S. team, which has been completely blown out of the water. This is why you got to be careful about these conspiracy theories or what have you. But the idea that the U.S. soccer couldn't make a big time hire. We all thought that. I started thinking that. Well, they just made the biggest hire on the planet. There is not a national team that has a more high-profile manager than Mauricio Pochettino. That is a fact, Jack. So that is through there. And Pochettino spent 1 year with Matt Crocker at Southampton. And that's where it started. Some really good stuff online with the phone calls where they closed it. I love that kind of stuff. Pochettino lives in Barcelona. There was a long meeting between the U.S. soccer brass and Poch. and it was supposed to be about an hour, and it lasted 3 or 4 hours. Matt Crocker said he wanted a coach with a reputation for winning across several environments. Apparently, they went after so many big candidates like Jurgen Klopp and Gareth Southgate, Thomas Frank at Brentford, and the response was positive. It wasn't a situation where like, nah, thanks, but no thanks. They all felt like they could kick the tire or two on this U.S. soccer because it's a compelling position, and it is. This isn't a throwaway. This is U.S. soccer already qualified for the World Cup, hosting it in the biggest burgeoning market for this sport in the world. Anyone will tell you that. Now, the World Cup may not go well, but even if it doesn't go well, I mean, Pochettino's going to be looked at as this figure who can help us get there. And by the way, with U.S. national team on such a low, with the September losses and the Copa America flameout, I think, some people were afraid that would scare Pochettino away. I think that just tighten the grip. He's seeing this as not a low pressure situation, but less pressure on it because we are coming from such a terrible spot. He's not going to win the World Cup. He's probably not going to make a World Cup final or a semifinal. He probably won't even make a World Cup quarterfinal. But as long as we see growth, I mean, as I've said in past videos, my hopes, my enthusiasm for the World Cup is at an all-time low. It's at 2017 low. Where people would say we could win a World Cup, that conversation gets laughed at now. We're not winning a World Cup in my lifetime or the next lifetime. I would have said a goal at 2026 is the semifinal or even a quarterfinal. I would say a realistic goal is the round of 16 because it's an expanded World Cup. You have to win an extra game to the round of 16. I'm not going to be crazy and say it's a quarterfinal. We're not a quarterfinal team right now. We're not even close. We can't beat New Zealand. We can't beat Panama. We can't beat Canada. We are not a quarterfinal team. You got to deal with it. So the goal is round of 16. Sorry, I know that's what we did in the last World Cup, but that's the goal here. And if you say anything beyond that, you're not being sincere or you're being insincere. Some more things about how this happened. Emma Hayes, who was at Chelsea, crossed paths, was involved. And then getting back to Matt Crocker not wanting to be limited by financial constraints. Greg Berhalter was making north of $2 million. They were going to have to make more. We don't have the exact total yet. I'm guessing it's going to be around $5 or $6 million. So they needed some money from elsewhere. Ken Griffin, who has supported American soccer, came in to help even the gaps for the Chelsea deal. And what occurred is Chelsea would, in the buyout for Pochettino, would pay him what they owed him minus the salary that USMNT is going to pay him. So they say they owed him $10 million a year, they pay him that, and then US Soccer would say they pay $5 million. I mean, it's pretty complicated here. That would return to Chelsea. So Chelsea gets some of their money back, so everyone's happy. So that's a big financial contribution for US Soccer. You should be really excited about this. However it goes, they opened up the checkbook in a big way. Partnership solid through 2026. And it's just great that they got someone on the philanthropic side to help out. That's a benefit for the U.S. There's a lot of people with deep pockets in this country that want soccer to grow. They're spending money elsewhere, in the Premier League, in the Serie A, in Liga, and wherever, in Brazil, in MLS. But they want to see this grow. There is money here. It's not just with U.S. Soccer. If you want to hire someone for $5, $6, $7 million a year, you need to find help. The help was out there. They found it, and we can push forward. Pochettino wasn't going to give us a discount. I mean, he's doing us a real solid here. And he wants to get back into the club game, which he will do soon enough, I think after 2026. I hope that maybe by the time 2026 he feels comfortable here and he continues to push and be a champion for American soccer, whether it's with the national team, whether it's an MLS, whether it's consulting, whether it's coaching the women's team. I don't know. I just want to keep him in here as long as possible. One quote in particular that Pochettino had, and he is going to be introduced in a more traditional press conference setting, and we'll hear more things, and he'll be open to questions, and it seems like he is very excited about that. He said, this wasn't about football for me. It's about the journey that the team and the country are on. He knows the excitement that we're in, even though we're not feeling it after this New Zealand result. But he knows that this growth is solid, and this World Cup is a moment in time, the benchmark moment for our country and this sport. We were more excited about it in 2022 and 2020, but now is the time where we can really ramp it up. And even if it doesn't go as well as we hoped, the fact that we've brought in Pochettino and he is seeing this with a fresh set of eyes, which is the best part, right? Somebody, and he could come in and go, hey, this is pretty good. Or he could come in and go, this is not great. You guys need a lot of work. I know a guy. I know another guy. This guy has contacts for days. And I think that's going to be a huge boost for the era of Pochettino in here. So he's going to use that fresh set of eyes. And I want that to be a through line here. A fresh set of eyes. Print the shirts. Print the shirts. Pochettino, fresh set of eyes. And it's not going to be someone, for a lack of a better word, tainted with the American system and how we do things and how we develop players. He's going to come in. He is going to be, and that's why I want him to spend as much time in the United States as possible. And his time here is valuable. I know people are saying, yeah, he can be based in Europe, but he can watch the European players here. I think he's more valuable here, and he has to watch MLS players, and he has to watch players in Liga MX, and he has to watch the players that are 14, 15. He doesn't have to, but get an idea of what makes this all click. I think he's going to want as much information as possible, so he's going to need to achieve it here. He lives in Barcelona. I don't want to never see him, and he's in Barcelona in his comfort zone. They're paying him a lot of money. And this is a big responsibility, and you need to keep up appearances, even whatever it is. And I think he'll love it here. I think he'll love the challenge. So hopefully that is that. So now we look at the player roster, and after the New Zealand result, Christian Pulisic was asked, and he acknowledged the malaise, and he said we needed a kick in the trousers. And every player knows what's going on. The players that were in the September camp and the players that were not. What is the player profile for Pochettino? I can't tell you for sure, but I have a pretty good idea. Because of the timetable and because of what makes him comfortable. We know about training. He wants guys that are intense, that see the vision, that don't complain, that don't have any issues, skeletons in their closet, the guys that can really bring it to a full throttle. So, to me, you look at the current U.S. player roster, the one that was in the Copa America, the one that were in the September camp, which was a little different. I think there are two locks. I think there's, of the team that played in the Copa America, you'll probably see 13 or 14 on the Pochettino squad. But there are two locks. There are two locks. Everyone else has to earn a spot. These two players have to earn a spot, but their play with their club has allowed that to already be achieved. That's Christian Pulisic, who I think Pochettino is going to lean in to be the leader. He is our star player. He is our most reliable across the board, and he has tenure. The other one is Anthony Robinson, who wasn't in the September camp, who is viewed as the best left back by many in the Premier League. Those two guys. Everyone else is a question mark. Some are less questions. Now, you may be asking yourself, what about Gio Reyna? I don't think Gio Reyna's in a great position with the Pochettino squad. He missed this September camp. There are too many question marks with Gio Reyna. I'm not saying he's not going to make it, but when Mauricio Pochettino push comes to shove, Malik Tillman played okay in September if you're looking for a different position, or maybe he plays it a little differently in a different formation, so where he may have a more traditional flat back four without a number 10, so to speak. But you have the issue with, I think Pochettino's going to look at this and say, all right, injury prone. Don't think for a minute that what happened at the World Cup is just going to slide away. It's going to hit him in the head and go, okay, that's a red flag. And the fact that 2-3 managers at Dortmund and Nottingham Forest didn't see him fit to play on their team, I think that's a headache that Mauricio Pochettino may want to avoid. I'm sure he'll have a long conversation and he'll vet Gio Reyna. But Gio Reyna has got to do something that he hasn't done, and that's prove that he is an adult, he takes care of his body, and he can play a variety of roles effectively and no complaining. He's less complained, but that's all there. So Serginho Dest is another one. The injuries, we'll see. I mean, I think Serginho Dest is close to a lock, but you can't say he is. Another guy who's gone to some big clubs and had some problems with some managers. I think when you look at other players that aren't playing for their club, that Mauricio Pochettino will take some of them, 2 or 3. He's not going to take 8 guys and put the responsibility in them if they're not playing for their club. And that is Matt Turner, to a lesser degree, Yunus Musa, even further down the line, guys, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, or Weston McKennie. Tim Weah's injury prone. I mean, Weston McKennie's known not to be a hard worker. I can't imagine Weston McKennie not on this team, but I think he has a lot to prove. And he wasn't on this team because he signed his contract late with Juventus in September. I think he has a lot to prove. Pochettino's going to look for a group that works, and he has 120 players. And they're the European-based players who, by the way, were empowered and failed in our core talented players. They failed at the Copa America. We can blame Greg Berhalter with blue in the face, but as we know, this is on the players now. These players have to prove that they are who we thought they were. And that's a big question here for Pochettino. I don't think he's going to take a lot of players that don't play a lot. He's going to want those guys that have the spirit, that can compete. There's so much to talk about. I feel like I'm rambling on here, but it really is a remarkable day for all of us. I'm excited. We'll see how it all plays out. The October roster is going to be telling but not comprehensive because you can't from 1 month determine all these guys. But this process is going to be huge as he looks at all of them. The Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. Alexi Lalas is on the latest episode, so check it out. Like and subscribe us here. We'll be back again with the official Pochettino introduction. We'll really roll up our sleeves and get into it. Can't wait. Let's go.